Hello and welcome to the Razuni Broadcasting Channel, bringing you news about the Razuni Sultanate and all of Eldham. First, we'll be talking about the news within our great country. Second, will be news about the whole world. And last, will be the changes to the borders of the world. First off this week is about the Sultanate. For those who don't know about this, the nation has been taking part in a trial run with the Zamotes Union. Having representatives in the Council of Ministers, our citizens enjoying the rights of any Zamote citizen and everything it entails for the past 3 weeks. This process began 5 to 6 weeks ago when the FA of Razuni reached out to the triumvirs of their union, setting up talks to consider the inclusion of the Razuni people into their union. The 5th of September, this trial run will end. We will announce the results. We will now show the results of the trial run. After the first talk to clarify doubts and concerns, the Razuni officials have been working closely with the Zamote government for the past 3 weeks. After consulting with the Sayyidis, Emirs, and the citizenry of our Sultanate, after much deliberation, doubts, concerns, debate, and clarifications, the Razuni people will join the union. We will show our flags together, match our national colors, and start working for the benefit of not only the Razuni people, but our new brothers and sisters throughout the whole union.
Next up, the Independence of Helsia. Over 2 months ago, Ravengard declared war on the nation of Helsia, a nation that had resided in the northeast since Eldham had settlements. On the 9th of June 2021, the residents found that Dalatra had claimed around their town and named that claim Bad Company. Helsia tried negotiating out of fear what might happen to them, as there were absolutely no public warning, no public announcement and acknowledgement of what happened. The negotiations were to figure out a time in which they could fight, where all the residents of Helsia were able to fight them, since they surely wouldn't go down without one. Their pleas were denied. Ravengard obviously did not think that playing by the rules mattered. It didn't matter to them how right or fairly they got what they wanted, they just wanted it. The Helsians decided not to fight, not to legitimize this action, not to make it look to the world like a war, when in reality it was atrocity. When they surrendered, the Helsians were said to lose their independence, but just accepted it as truth. They planned to move on, but little did they know it would get worse. Their claims were unclaimed and reclaimed without the Helsians in it, and refused to let them in. And now the nation of Ravengard still did not publicly announce what they had done. It was bad enough that they had lost their independence, dignity, wealth, land, and now their very homes. Ravengard's bloodlust would not be satisfied until they had taken everything from Helsia. On Ravengard's side of the story, it had all started when Ravengard received a hit on the leader of Helsia, Zacata, which ended up in him using an exploit that resulted in him becoming invincible for roughly 40 minutes, and was on the border of getting permanently exiled from Eldham, but did not get punished at all. But contrary to what Helsia might have said, it was not two Ravenguards versus Zacata. Zacata had rightfully brought his troops to stop the two from leaving, which included trapping one of them, Spunta, next to their beds and combat tagging him for more than 50 minutes while talking shit to them. Once the hit was complete, the Helsians taunted, slandered, and spread false information to get the people on their side, resulting in Ravengard declaring war on Helsia. After the declaration of war, Zacata informed them that due to time zones he wouldn't be able to make it, which led to the war being rescheduled. Later, Zacata told them that he was being childish and petty before, and that he would voluntarily exile himself regardless of the war's outcome. So Ravengard continued with their seizure of Grimskill. After the war finished, they had transferred it to them. They kept Grimskill the way it was before, without griefing, forced eviction, and even decided to let them stay in Ember's Flame, without intervention. Although at that point they had conquered the entire nation. At the time they decided out of good grace that they wouldn't consume the land that was considered Helsia to turn into Ravengard, as they did not have the citizens or the resources to adopt the entire continent as their own. The citizens that once lived in Grimskill had never asked to go back to their town, as he would have accepted and allowed them to stay there. After all it had settled, the residents of Ember's Flame wanted to create a revolution against them, but Ravengard didn't want to go to war over this, so they came to terms with it and allowed them to peacefully do whatever they want with the land, and flourish however they wanted, which is where we now left off. After doing an interview with the current king of Helsia, Superb, we learned about the reason for Helsia to leave Ravengard behind. Due to the overtake over Helsia, many citizens left the nation, or even decided to take a break from the world of Eldham. To give the people a real home and a place they can call their own home, they decided to do stuff on their own. Doing an official announcement and informing the people about the ruthless regime of Ravengard, the Empire was forced to give the Helsian people what they wanted to get back: their dignity, their cities, and even their nation. If they would not have done so, many outside nations may have considered helping Helsia and seeing the Empire as a root nation. The city where all of this began sadly was one of the sacrifices Helsia needed to take when Ravengard took control. It was indeed the city where the idea of revolution came up, but due to the lack of happiness while living in Eldham, many of them quit it, and so the city no longer exists anymore. Even with the decrease of their population, the Helsian people and their king are happy to announce that they want to hold a festival of independence, to leave their past behind and begin a new chapter.
Now, we have news on the unification of Titania, Urarka, and Inja. They have all united under the imperial house of Aurelian of the Urarki Imperium. With this merging of the three nations, their cultures, government, and lifestyles all mixed together into the Urarki structure. And now, it is clear a fourth country is involved. After a post made by Neo, he revealed Zacata, now named Neo-Dracaeus, has joined them. The Treaty of Dracaeus-Urarka Treaty was then posted, showing that Neo would be merging with Urarka as a vassal. Before we start with the border changes, we want to talk about a new nation called Nova Ascoria. The nation before was part of a country called Batu. Under its control, the region got governed as an autonomous region without any permission to buy new land to grow their regions. The second reason being their population coming close to Batu's being 30 and Nova Ascoria being 20. The Ascorian independence movement was started 2 weeks ago by Pang for MC Again and Gunkfunk, who wished for Ascorian liberty, so they started a movement to get it. Their first move was to take the Saki Bar in Horizont, which was owned by a Batu named Bionath, after which they gained some notoriety and started gaining members. After the Saki Bar takeover, they marched on Lozodi, the capital of the Batu Khaganate, which resulted in few deaths but overall was quite successful, after which the leader of Batu Yuka had finally relented to Ascorian demands, and the Treaty of Mayara was signed a week later, which involved the Ascorians joining the Saranan Entente and paying 350k to Batu.
Now to the border changes. The stuff we already told you will not be mentioned again, and as always we used map of the guilds of Rethni and Eldham as our background footage. You can see that 2 new nations have been created right inside Vaimori. They are called Talbarim and the UK of Azadam. The last one was founded by Queen Zomnia. Next up, the nation of Itia, which was once part of the Commonwealth, is no longer shown on the map. Instead, the once small Azaria is now consuming around half of what Itia was, and the other part is now a region called Freeholds of Surlad. The Sectified States of Sol have joined the Zamatz Union in hope of getting protection due to their leaders taking a small break. In this footage you see 2 changes. The nation of Arxelis is now Paudaphonia, and Luticus merged with Skjolbordir. Next you can find 2 changes in this picture. First, Kolsonafel merged with the USSR, and the second, Venshar, is now an independent state. Last but not least we have the nations that renamed themselves, which are for this week, Akulutis to Valzorian and the Northwich dynasty to just Northwich. As always, we can't really fit all the changes in just one video, so if you have any submissions for events happening in the world of Eldham, just let us know on our Discord. Link in the descriptions, and for now, have a great day and see you next time!